There has to be a win-win philosophy. I want to put myself in the shoes of the person I'm talking to, investor or a client or prospect, and you want to look from their perspective what the benefits are of what you are telling them.
Welcome to the Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast, brought to you by the Rental Property Owner Association, providing benefits and services to real estate investors and rental property owners for over 48 years. With your host, Brian Hamrick from Hamrick Investment Group.
This episode is sponsored by Green Property Management, managing everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area. Find out more at greenpropertymgt.com. Hello and welcome to episode 128. Vinney Chopra is an educator, motivational speaker, fundraiser, and master apartment syndicator who runs a $172 million multifamily portfolio. Vinney has done over 26 syndications, 12 of which were in the past 24 months. Not bad for a guy who came to America with just $7 in his pocket. Vinney, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that.
Let's just start with the $7 in your pocket. I mean, that's part of your legend is you started with $7 when you came to this country, and now you have a portfolio that's worth over $172 million. This is what we have to find out today is how you went from $7 to $172. So why don't you kind of take us back to that time and how you started and how you got into real estate?
Totally, Brian. The irony of the situation is, when you come from India or any other country back then, I came about 40 years back into this country, you could not bring any more. Well, actually, my mom and dad didn't want me to come to USA, to be truthful, as I look back at it. And I always wanted to come to USA because my uncle was here, and I knew it's the land of opportunity and so forth. So when I did my engineering degree back in India and I worked in Bombay with Larsen Toubro, I came out here. I could only bring $7, and my grandpa actually paid for my ticket. I wish, people have grandpas like him. And then when I came here, of course, my uncle helped me a little bit to get me in the, first semester of George Washington University in Washington, D.C. And then after that, I said, I don't want to be burdened on him and I don't want to, ask for more money and so forth. I was living for free with him and his family. Wonderful, our Indian culture is such, where we never charge any money, and so forth like that. So that's when I came across a fine gentleman, Mr. Y.K. Agarwal. I can still, if he's listening to me, I remember his name after 42 years. And I asked him, I said, what are you doing for summer job or things like that? He said, I sold Bibles and encyclopedias and with this company, very fine company out of Tennessee. And do you want to come along with me? So the rest is history. That's what I did. And I went out and sold outside Atlanta, Hostel and Mableton and Douglasville. The exciting part is that I had done door-to-door selling, right? Walking from door to door that time. And now I just purchased $23 million worth of real estate apartment buildings in the same town. So that's fun.
Which town was that?
It's Austell, Austell. I just made a very big deal. There are 267 units.
Wow, good for you. That's great. So you were from selling door to door there to buying doors.
Buying doors, there we go. You're right. And that's what really changed my life, actually. I thought that I would be much better as a person and have happiness and, enjoy being out in the open, being in sales and marketing. That's what my degree is also, MBA, Master's in Business Administration in marketing and sales. So rest assured, then from there, I went back and sold again my second year. Then third year was when I graduated because I was an engineer, and to do MBA, I had to do a lot of prerequisites, a lot of other courses and all that. So third year, I said, oh my gosh, I need to get a job, full-time job. We were in shorts and you know how it is, college students selling books and dancing and working 80 hours a week.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, I was working and I got award and trophies just because I was very determined and diligent and hardworking with other students too. I mean, that's all they do. They all work 75 to 80 hours every week, and then on weekends we meet for inspirational meetings. You know how that is. So that's what it is that changed my life. And after that, I joined full time with the same company, had a sister company, uh, and I started working for them. And I was a failure. Oh my gosh, I was a big failure for first 7 months, 6 to 7 months. I said, man, alive, I was so good in selling books door to door. Here in professional fundraising, I don't do well. I suck. I don't know if that's the good word, but I said, you know what? What's going wrong? So I looked into myself. I said, you know what? I've been becoming a comedian in front of, my accent it still is bad. A lot of people can't understand me, but, and I said, I need to change. I need to go back to the books and training material and everything. And that changed my life again. I increased my sales by 81%, I remember. And in the second year, the company made me a leader, a manager. And then after that, I was moved to California to open up the whole region for the company.
So before let me stop you there, because I think you're getting onto something very important here, because a lot of success in real estate or any business, in my mind, has to do with your ability to sell yourself.
Yeah.
And sales are such a key part of any sort of success that you're going to have anywhere. What did you do to change? I mean, you said you were a failure when you moved into that fundraising position, but then you turned it around. What did you do to turn it around?
I'm so glad you are saying that. I think as a new rookie coming into any business, we try to wing it, and especially if you have been successful before, you think that you'll be successful again in a new facet of life. So when I was doing door-to-door sales, then people would say, oh yeah, come on in, and I was able to, go over the sales talk and objections and everything. That's something I did not do when I became full-time consultant, So after 6 months of failure or 7, 8 months of failure, I just picked up my training manual and I would learn it every day. And when I go out in the field, I like to find out what I did wrong, what I did right, and relearn it again, So I think that's what really changed me. And also becoming more positive and saying that tomorrow my presentation is going to be better. And then I started even doing it in front of the mirror, I remember. It's so good to really look at you and what you're saying in front of the mirror, because that tells you what the audience is looking at, And then having a confidence in what you're going to speak about also made a big difference. I remember I joined Toastmaster, I got married, so that way, I had more time to devote to the business, things like that. And when we moved out to California, that's when I really took off, And that's where we had no representation whatsoever on the West Coast. And my becoming a leader also, it kind of gives you that strength, that you want to lead by example. You want to hire more good people under you and train them and so forth. So in a leadership role, you can really excel. That's what happened, right?
Okay, so you dug in, you did the hard work, and you really committed yourself to getting better as a speaker, as a presenter, as a persuader, and that really seemed to pay off for you, huh?
It did. It really did. I had a 37-year career. Oh my gosh, 37 years with one company. Because I was approached by a lot of other sales companies in my later part of life, but I kept on winning awards, and people were liking me, and we were raising, ton of money and so forth for organizations, nonprofit and profit. And so I'm a loyal person. I always have seen that seven numbers has really affected my life. I came with $7 into this country, then I always made a commitment for 7 years in the company also, in my company. So, in other words, it's a clientele business. I had to decide on the sixth year if I'm going to make it 14 years or no. It just helps like that. In my thinking, if you have a long perspective in life, you always do well. If you have short perspective in life, you don't do well. If you say that I'm going to just try it for a year or 6 months and I'll give up, it doesn't work that way. So maybe for some of your audience it might be 3 years or 5 years. In my case it was 7 years, then 14-year commitment, then 21 years commitment, then 28, and then 35, and I was going to go for 40, 42 actually. But things happen in my life and so forth, and I had also started on the sideline my real estate business, which I became a broker in 2004. And then that really took off with my partner and so forth. And, because I was doing full time, my other position. So, you work hard, and I think life gives you back. If you are good to other people around you, then, it just mushrooms. And that's what happened, from 2004, 6, then 8. And now I just started the brand new company, 100% ownership, with me and my wife 3 years back, by the way, just about 3 years. And we have done like 12 syndications in the last 2 years.
Wow. So let's talk about that, your ability to syndicate. And for those who don't know what syndication is, it's the pooling together money from other investors. And in your case, pulling together a lot of money so you can take down larger and larger deals. Yes. And I'd imagine your sales and your persuasive background, your ability to persuade, raise money, funds, all of that has led to your success. So let's kind of take it from that perspective. Maybe even starting with your first syndication. How did you put that together in a way that you were able to persuade your investors that, hey, this is a deal you want to get into?
Totally. Brian, I've always looked in my life that there has to be a win-win situation philosophy. Other words, I want to put myself in the shoes of the person I'm talking to, investor or a client or prospect, we call it in sales. And you want to look from their perspective what the benefits are of what you are telling them, and you're showing them, and you're getting them involved in. So that's first thing. You got to really master your material. That's what I've picked up, in being in sales and marketing and in negotiations. So I'm a systems guy, right? Engineer. I always look at everything through a, engineering mind. How can I make systems? How can I make better presentations? How can I, write better scripts, which I can say over and over and over again. So those things really helped me a lot when I started doing syndication. I was just raising thousands of dollars in my other profession. And when I transferred into syndication business, it was raising much more zeros after that, and I raise millions now. In a day or two, I can raise 6 to 10 million now from my clientele base.
Wait. Say that again. So in a day or two, you could raise $6 to $10 million. Without breaking a sweat.
Yeah. Because see, what has happened is over the years, my investors have realized so high returns. They get a preferred rate of 8 or 9 or 9.5. I've gone as high as 9.5. Plus, they get equity gains within 3 to 5 years. Sometimes we refi the property and pay them whole money back. It's been amazing. 5 properties we bought out of 26. We refinanced, paid every dime back to the investors, but they still keep on getting returns every year. So in other words, they have zero money invested in the apartment complex, but they are making 9 or 10% each year. You divide 9 or 10 by 0, their returns are infinity.
That's one of my favorite things is the infinite return.
I know. And then they are still legally bound, I'm bound to, as a syndicator, to give them their 65% or 60%, split with the equity gain also. So when we sell the property, then of course, as soon as a big lump sum money, comes at the sale, then they get 65% divided amongst them also. So we do it all, through SEC ruling and all that 506B or 506C. Actually, C is what I'm getting into right now because a lot of my investors were kind of feeling not happy that whenever I pass out the deal in front of them, and they were traveling or they were, at work, they couldn't read my email or something. By the end of the day, when they wanted to get into the deal, it's already sold out. So I thought to myself, why don't I do something special, like have a fund, So I'm doing a $50 million fund coming up in January now, where all my investors can, get in that fund, and then there'll be cash calls as soon as I get a great property, which are, I go for 12.5% cash on cash always. The one I just bought in Austell, my cash on cash is 19.2%. It's amazing.
I'd like to take a moment to tell you about Green Property Management. Not only do they manage everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area, they also manage my entire portfolio. So I can tell you from personal experience that their unique flat fee management style is worth a closer look. If you feel that your property isn't operating to its fullest potential, then Green Property Management can help you take a holistic approach that will save you money, eliminate your headaches, and increase your net income. And if you're a property manager interested in applying Green Property Management's model, give them a call at 1-866-95-GREEN or visit them on the web at greenpropertymgt.com. Since you're talking about the SEC and the 504B, 504C, let's make sure our listeners understand that. The SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, that's the government agency that makes sure that you are following the rules when it comes to putting these types of investments together. And you have to be very careful about following these rules. And there's exceptions, which is the 504B, 504C. Can you explain the difference between the two? I'm sorry, I said 504, but it's 506. 506B,
yeah,
506C. Thank you.
As in boy, it's the one where you can get into your syndication process accredited investors and sophisticated. And how they are different, accredited investors are the ones who have net worth of $1 million or more, excluding the equity in their primary residence, or they are making $200,000 per year for the last couple of years, or if they are family of two, husband, wife, or partner, and if they are able to make $300,000 per year, then they are turned into accredited investors. Now, sophisticated investors are the ones who don't have the net worth of 1 million, like I just said, or they don't make 200 or 300,000, but they have knowledge of the investments. They have gone to courses. They have read, several books. They are into stock market, and they have the knowledge. Or they can also get a, financial planner to watch all over, the private placement memorandum. I'm speaking all this language for the syndication and operating agreement and subscription agreements, all those. So that is with a specified offering. When I say specified offering is you have a product that you property that you really like it and you get it under contract. Now you're doing due diligence. That's the one to really make sure that this is the property you want to purchase. And then you put together a syndication packet, it's called, through a syndication attorney. And I really love my attorney. I don't know if I can mention her name.
Please, go ahead.
She's been with me, for the last, 11 years. And, Jim Trowbridge and Kim Taylor, they were together and so forth. So Kim Taylor takes care of me now. And the other part is in the 506C, in the C, the difference is that you can advertise your offering. In the first one, 506B, as in boy, you cannot advertise. You have to have 3 touches with the investors. If you meet them, you have to talk to them and build a relationship, and you cannot show them the deal that you already are working on. It has to be a future deal, future product.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. So that's what I've done. I do the 506B.
Sure.
And I only allow accredited investors into my deals. So I only work with accredited. But like you and I talking right now for the first time, I could not say, hey, Vinney, I've got a deal I want you to look at.
Right.
We would have to talk at least 3 times over a certain period of time before I could actually say, hey, here, do you want to take a look at this opportunity?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And that's the 506B. The 506C, now it's and actually, let me go back. On the 506B, I can't advertise either. I can't go out there and say, hey, I've got a really great deal. If you're an accredited investor, come talk to me. No, I have to have an established relationship. And advertising is a no-no. But 506C, now it's loosened up a little bit. I can advertise.
Totally.
So go ahead. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the 506C now, because I'm doing a blind pool, that's another new term. Blind pool means that the investors actually will be looking at my track record, and even the outside new investors who I will advertise to, they can look through my whole package, my website, everything. It will be like a blind pool of $50 million, which tells the new investors and old investors that Vinney and his team, they're working hard to look at several deals, and we'll be able to lock in one. Lock in means, we are able to send LOI, it gets accepted, and now we are able to bring that property address and all the particulars out in the open, so that nobody gets it, right? So essentially, in the fund that I'm doing, $50 million fund, it makes sense for me to go ahead and do 506C, as in Charlie, so that my investors who are already, very good, 130 of them, that's how I started with one investor, you know how it is. But then over the time period, the word of mouth, I never had a website, by the way, Brian. I just started working on one, and it's still not that good.
So it was all networking with personal contacts. Is that how?
Totally personal contacts, word of mouth, and just go to meetings or Skype meetings or FaceTime, because a lot of my investors are all scattered all over USA also, just like yours. And, and Joe Fairless and, Rod Cleef, everybody's, So essentially, it's kind of like the right time for me to do that fund now, so that everybody can get in my base, and they can even increase involvement in the fund. So people can put in 400,000, 300,000, or whatever they can commit. And then in a 6 months or a year, because see, I also am looking at several of my deals, 26 syndications. We have already sold 10 of them, right? We have sold 10, and then I'm selling 2 more. So a lot of this money is getting multiplied with my investors. So we give them back when the property is sold, their original 100 or 200 or 400,000 back. Plus, if the equity gain has been 60 or 80%, their share, they are going to get a big check of 80,000 for 100,000, or maybe 200-300 more, depending on how much they invested in. So there is a lot of money my present investors are getting. So they've been asking me, Vinney, when is the next one coming? When is the next time we're going to roll it into your new deals? It's a circle, kind of like a circle. So that's,
you've made a lot of money for them, so they want to roll it right back in and get into the next deal. I've got a couple questions for you.
Please.
On the 506B, you basically that's what you've been doing traditionally
all the time.
And
of my syndications have been 506B.
Yeah.
Like,
So there you've been identifying the property first and raising the money second.
yes.
Now you're doing a blind pool, which is basically the opposite. You're raising the money first, and then that allows you to take down the property quickly.
Yeah.
Because you've got the cash to do it if need be.
Yeah.
But can you do a blind pool in a 506B?
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah, you can. Totally.
Okay. So the 506C really, either the 506B or 506C, you can do a blind pool. But the 506C now allows you to advertise.
Exactly.
And you can bring in sophisticated investors as well.
No. In C, you cannot bring sophisticated investors at all.
Oh, so it's all accredited investors.
All accredited investors, yes.
Okay. You're allowed to advertise. Do you have to have an established relationship before you show the deal? So you can show you could show the deal to me right now if you wanted to.
Totally. Exactly. And I can advertise Facebook advertising, Google advertising. I will have a website. That's something which kind of is a new charter ground for me. And my, attorneys, I have 4 attorneys, in my team, my real estate attorneys, wealth attorney, the syndication attorneys. And then I have now each state, I have different attorneys. I like to do that so that, they can really follow the laws. So that way, and what we have found is that with the market where it is now, Brian, it's getting more competitive, and I think by having a fund, I'll have so much money ready to pounce, not the right word, pounce upon, get to the deal quickly and then offer some great negotiation, to get it down and finish it off, very nicely, even if I have to pay cash for the whole deal. And as soon as I close, then I can do the refi or get a loan on it,
Right.
So the times are getting, I know correction is coming. I'm just putting a new article together, my perspectives on 2018. If your audience would like to get that, I think it's comes out today or tomorrow.
Yeah, how would they get that if they wanted to?
Oh, sure. They can always go on my website, www.vinneychopra.com. That's Vinney as in Victor, V as in Victor, I as in India, Nancy, EY, that's elephant and then yellow, Chopra, Chopra, like Deepak Chopra. No connections. Actually, we have very few Chopras around, It's quite possible I know him through somewhere, but C as in Charlie, H as in Henry, Oprah, O-P, P as in Paul, R-A, Robert.com. And they could, see my blogs. I've put lots of blogs. Every week I'm writing about 2 blogs and a lot of different, very good, information. My main thinking right now in my life, I just turned 65, is that, I don't need to work. But at the same token, my passion now is that, next 25, 30 years, I want to give my knowledge out to the world. Hopefully a lot more people can become syndicators. And it's always a big pie, different size groups, different areas, different emerging markets. So, competition is healthy. And so that's why I built Multifamily Syndication Academy, which is www.multifamilysyndicationacademy.com, to kind of offer, my lectures. No fluff. I know. I like very short, simple, systematic way, to present my ideas.
So you teach other people your methods of syndication.
Yeah. My main thinking is I don't have but more than 4 or 5 students at a time. That's not my income generator at all. I'm trying to put everything online so that they can systematically learn everything I know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I was wondering if you're doing this one-on-one online, or if you do seminars and conferences like you see some of the other instructors do.
Conferences, which I don't think I'll be doing ever again. I never done it, by the way, but I will be doing webinars where that's my thinking is with the cutting edge now. you could do the webinars and then you could replay the webinars and students can come into the webinars as they would like and so forth. So a lot more with the social media, I guess, is where I'm going rather than doing physical webinars.
Great. Well, hey, I want to get back to the idea of raising money.
Sure.
And I'm wondering if you can give us like a sample of a conversation a conversation you would have had early on with a potential investor,
Okay.
which I'm sure is kind of different from a conversation you would have now that you've got an established track record. But starting out, when you first started putting together other people's money to buy deals, how did those conversations go?
Very good point, Brian. I think the thing I looked at was, okay, if I'm going to meet with somebody in their living room, all right, I need to show something. I always have been like a visual guy, right? So people like to understand better. If you tell them, it's different thing. If you show them, it's different. And if you involve them, that's when it really hits the road. So I put together some PowerPoint presentation almost 10 years back, 10, 11 years back, when nobody was doing it. And the idea was, why multifamily? Because I felt like most of my people I was talking to, they were in single family 10, 11 years back, and they were buying home here or there. So I had to put together a PowerPoint to show them what single family brings challenges and what multifamily show them pictorially on the presentation, how it's much different, how they could make money. And, everybody has heard that toilets, tenants, and, and all that tolerance and that. But then in multifamily, being a passive investors, they could really realize great returns. And I would put them in slides and everything and then master it. And when I meet with them, it has to be short. I mean, you got to first rapport build is the word, right? You got to sit down and then you talk about, small talk about their interests, their family, where they are from, kind of have common ground. And then you dig into, as I was mentioning on the phone, we are getting into, this is the first deal, right? Very first deal, 109 units, 14 units we bought first, and we closed on 109 units same week, But we were raising money almost 6-7 months. I mean, it was hard. It was really hard, Brian. But then the thing was, we were in California, my partner and I, and they said, where are you buying? Oh, in Texas. Are you going to move there? No. So all those things, And then the lenders were also asking us too, are you going to move 15 minutes away from the property? Something like that. They had a requirement back in 2009, I'm thinking, And we said, no, we are not. We are going to be right here in California. But, we will hire a company, which we did, a very nice company out of Dallas. They were managing 33,000 units at that time. I mean, big people, right? We always went to the very best. But then we got them to also, take care of our property, that 109 units. But as we got deeper into it, we found that they were, spending our money and we didn't have that much cash flow, blah, blah, blah. That's when we started our own property management companies. And now we own 2 investment companies. And I'm a president of one and CEO of another one. And then again, president of the management company and then CEO of the management company, which is the Monil. That's our kids' name, Monica and Neil. We combined the 2 and that's where we are. We are selling all our assets in the other 2 companies. And then we are buying everything in the new companies, So I hope I helped a little bit in the sense that, we got to have a PowerPoint. Actually, my mentor paid for my trip and hotel and everything in Chicago. I went there. I gave my presentation PowerPoint in front of 300 investor students. I remember how to raise money, how to present my PowerPoint in Chicago, actually. And I would love to give that, to your audience, and I'll send them some of the and everything is in my Dropbox. I can be anywhere in the world and I can, orchestrate. Now we have a pretty big company with vice presidents and other things. So I work, a few hours in a day, but I delegate a lot of things.
That PowerPoint that you're talking about, that's available, and you'll share it with anybody. How would someone get access to that?
Oh, sure. By golly, they could just go to vinneychopra.com and just send a, little note to me, contact me, and just say that, would you please send me your PowerPoint? I would love to.
Yeah,
I have nice versions of it too now. Love to pass out, give that out.
There's a lot of objections people have. What are some of those common objections that you have to answer?
The biggest thing is we have to mindset in our mind, and that's what my wife and I always look at, we have to guard our investors' money much more diligently. Fiduciary responsibility we have towards investors is to guard their money even more so than our money, and that has really served us well. Our 4 companies are totally transparent. Our investors can look for, of course, financials. Everybody provides financials and rent roll, but we open up the whole book. They can look for invoices, bids, bank statements. They can go to our properties before telling us. They could go there, take pictures, all the things, totally transparent. All these 10, 12 years we've been doing it. That brings a lot of trust from the investor's perspective, and I just ask my investors to give me some feedback, how I'm doing, how my companies are doing. And I would love to send you a few comments, and your investors can also see, your audience can see it on my website, which I'm building, vinneychopra.com, what my students are saying and what my investors are saying, So essentially, it's all to say what objections they'll have. See, it's hard to even give $1,000 to somebody you don't know, right? Sure. Not to say $100,000, you're trusting somebody. So what we need to present, and again, it's going to be a little bit tougher for the investors who want to start right, from get-go. You got to show your experience. You got to show what you have learned so far and why you are so excited about investing in this particular market. That's what was the big thing that helped me. And my partner was Odessa, Texas, Midland, Texas, to get all the reports way back in 2007-8, and then why the charts showed that the unemployment rate was the least. They were always number 1 out of the 100 cities of that size. So having the information gathering, like, for example, I just went from Texas to Georgia, right? I collected maybe 100 articles, I think, and I was able to put that all together specifically for my investors because I needed for them to understand why Vinney is diversifying. Why is he not wanting you to put all the money in one basket, eggs in one basket, So now, by diversifying into a new emerging market, the money flowed so quickly. Like I raised $8 million in 2 days, and that's what I'm finding. Our investors, your audience, they need to really look at it, who they are trying to meet. First of all, get references, and then try to build some track record, your bio, your credibility book, I call it, letter from your from your attorney and bank and your business partners and all that. The more ammunition you have to bring awareness that you know what you're talking about, then people will give you money.
Yeah, it's part of marketing yourself.
It is.
I have a credibility kit as well, where it tells you all about my track record, the deals that I've done, the team that I put together. It sounds like you have a pretty solid one too.
Yeah. And then the other part, Brian, is that I know Rodcliffe, when he interviewed me last year, and I just did another one with him last week. And, and the key thing he was very impressed was how I have built my clientele, which is what I did before too, by the way. 37 years, I had 89% retention from year after year of my clients in that company. I mean, I was the systems guy, and I always kept my clients because I gave them the hearing, I gave them the respect, I gave them, I mean, I would rather take care of an established client, in my business, and now investors. I always look at investors as not just 100,000 or 200,000, investment. I look at it 10 times or 20 times behind them, because each investor has a tree. They have relatives, they have friends, they have circle of influence. Number one, circle of influence. Number two, number three, number four, number six. So I always believe everybody's got such a social circle, so much relatives and all. And that's what has mushroomed my investor base, from one investor to 130 now. And hopefully it'll go to 200, with my going into the 506C, because I'll be able to advertise. I do have some people, they probably listen to me, and I'm a very genuine guy. I'm very easy to talk to, approach. I've had people clicking on my website, which just came into operation, and saying, Vinney, I want to invest $500,000 with you. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
You don't even know me. I've not talked to them, but then I have to take a step back and then go to meetings and let them meet me, and I meet them, and we'll talk and all, and get their spouse involved. I mean, I have to build the whole conversation and then make sure that, when I have something in the future, then, I'll bring it to them. But in the 506C, I'll be able to talk to them right away and get them all excited about what I'm looking at and what deals are coming and why they should, work with Vinney Chopra and his teams and so forth, like that. Wow. But I hope I can add value to your audience that, see, syndication business is a great business. There is so much money around every single team player, every single investor. It's okay to spend money, your own money, and you can buy 15 units or 12 units or 20 units. But if you can really pool the money together, you're helping the investors. See, you've got to look at every aspect of your life. You're adding value to people around you. If you're adding value to people around you, you will get, like Zig Ziglar said, actually, he passed away. Really great guy, and see you at the top, and Tony Robbins and all these, Jim Rohn and all these mentors of mine, who have taught, if you help enough people get what they want, you will get what you want. And that has been the philosophy of life. That's what we need to all practice. Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Influence, how to
win friends and influence people.
Yeah. All those books, really come back to life. Think Magic of Thinking Big. And that is what it is. Magic of Thinking Big taught me 40 years back or so when I read it. The Greatest Salesman in the World. Oh my gosh, what a book, what a work. And Alan Lankin's How to Control Your Time, How to Control Your Life. I mean, those books really get you to focus in today, right now, what I need to be doing. Am I being better today and tomorrow and the next 5 days than last 5 days, or next 5 years and last 5 years, things like that, But the irony of the situation is, by becoming a syndicator, you're helping your relative. Well, in my case, as you go back to it, I don't really get any money from my relatives, zero money. From my immediate friends, zero money, because I just felt like I didn't know if I'll be success as I am today. And I just built my clients, my investor base, away from my immediate base, But I think now so much is available that I would suggest that everybody to really start with their circle of influence, number one, then number two, number three, number four, kind of go back outside. I just did it other way around. By syndicating, by pooling money, you're helping them. Because, see, they are getting 1% or 0.125 or whatever, or stock market. But many, many, many people have read and heard that real estate makes great gains, but they don't have the time. Attorneys, CPAs, doctors, lawyers, teachers, all entrepreneurs, they are great in their profession, but they don't have the time and energy to learn everything and to be able to invest and get great returns. And in our case, we have been giving 18 to 24 IRR, but several of our deals, we have given 43.3, 68%, per year. This is per year now, by the way.
Wow.
So those have been very spectacular numbers. And that just tells those investors, if they're happy, they tell their friends and their friends and their, family and so forth. So it's a noble profession. That's how I look at it. You have to be really, and I'm so happy it's guided by SEC ruling. So you really have to true to yourself, like they say, true north, right? You got to be honest and sincere and, doing everything by the law. That's one thing I love it in this profession is that every LLC owns separate properties and all the structures are separate, no commingling of funds. And then I do investor meetings, by the way, every quarter. I've been doing it since I started 10 years back. And every investor meeting is recorded live on GoToMeeting, always video, never on a phone call. And then I send the link to my investors that evening or next day so that they could look at it again. Those who were present and those who could not attend, they could see the whole 20, 30 minutes, even 1 hour, many of our investments, because we show them everything, with an agenda.
Are you doing that for all 26 deals that you've got?
One. Every single one, every quarter.
Wow, that's a lot of that takes a lot of time. I don't know how you can manage that with 26
dividends, because that way you are sincere and you're keeping updating your investors where their money is. It's hard to sleep at night if you don't know where your $1 million is. And now I would love to put a plug into for your audience. It's called Update Capital, UPDATE, updatecapital.com. I just hired them where I can put everything for my investors in a secure website in the back end. Now my investors can log in and they can see all their investments and every quarter how much we pay quarterly, by the way. We pay quarterly cash flows. And also they could see if they are into 10 properties, all the 10 properties synopsis and all the 10 properties financials, everything, the rent rolls, and all the data and everything is right there. And we can provide their K1s through this website. I'm very, very excited about them. I've been meaning to build it in my infrastructure, in my website, but then I came across this fine company. And at a nominal charge, I'm able to provide that service to my investors. And they love it, by the way. They love it.
That's updatecapital.com. And it's a tool for syndicators to use to keep their investors up to date on the financials and other information. So as we wrap it up, I just want to switch gears a little bit. You mentioned the article you just wrote about your outlook on the market.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you could share a little bit of that with us. What is your outlook on the market? What's going to happen in the next couple of years?
I would say that as most all the audience probably knows, USA is becoming more of a renter's nation, which is true. The home ownership has gone down. And then also we have two segments in market in USA. One are the millennials, where the population is increasing. And then the second one is the baby boomers like me, who are kind of going down. They're going out of the single family homes into more apartments and senior living with greater amenities, and they don't have to mow the lawn. They don't have to, drive to the health clubs anymore, and they're all self-contained and, have a great life. So those two factors, we'll have like 10,000. That's the statistics I was reading. 10,000 each day for the next 10 years or something like that. Maybe I'm wrong. In my article, it's correct. There are baby boomers who are turning baby boomers, and retiring and so forth. So those two segments and plus the influx of people coming from abroad I know we are kind of in this political situation. We don't know where it's going, but would we have more immigrations coming and so forth? So those three factors are saying that multifamily is going to be here for a long time. Yes, correction will come. I don't know how big a correction. Correction, I believe, is going to be localized, but I really believe in multifamily. You make profits when you purchase it, through off-market deals, through motivated sellers, through your buying power, things like that. So my perspective is pretty strong in C and B properties, not that much on A. A buildings are, of course, low cap rates, high, very expensive properties, and more products. I think that's going to go down. And that also builds from the stemming of driverless cars coming, a lot of car buying, and, there's change of habits. In the next 15 years, it's going to be a whole different ball game that we will be looking at. A lot more empty parking lots and things like so. There will be a shift in the real estate also. But again, at the same time, for syndicators like us, and I don't believe in holding and keeping for eternity. I believe in selling the properties with value add and getting the value up higher, and then selling in three to 5 or 5 to 7 years. So my outlook is pretty strong in C and B properties, if I can, in a nutshell. But then also at the same token, we need to be ready and we have to be decisive. I think the reason I've done 12 syndications in 2 years is because I was very up on the ball. If a property came in the evening, I crunched the numbers and I put LOI or contract even many times next day.
So you move quickly.
Very quickly.
So once again, tell our listeners how they can get in touch with you or get to your website and whatever else you have out there.
Oh, okay. I know you're in Michigan. I'm sure you're nationwide, coverage. You're in Michigan. I would love to say, please do go to VinneyChopra.com, Vinney, Vinney. And I know some people spell like Vinney, Vinny. I just put an E, elephant, in there because I love elephants. It's amazing, how your life shapes around you, what you're thinking. And I feel very smiley, They could even say, write the word smile, SMILE, smile at VinneyChopra.com, or they could say Vinney at VinneyChopra.com. They will come to my email and I will reply and send attachments and direct them to different places, answer their questions. Of course, they could go to VinneyChopra.com, VinneyChopra.com, and they can reach me there. They can download my ebooks I'm writing. My big book is still in the works, which is going to come out. My podcasts are there. And then I will be starting Facebook Live, by the way, this Friday. I'm doing 10 a.m. on Pacific time. I'll be doing it I don't know if every Friday, but I'm doing it these coming Fridays. And then my podcast will be coming with me only answering questions. I want to make it as easy as I can. So it will be answering questions from my listeners and my investors and my students, which I'll be doing it in podcast style. That's another thing coming out also.
Great. Wow, you have a lot going on. I think you've got a bright future ahead of you, Vinney. I see good things for you.
Sorry. No, that's right. I believe that, we should be looking at 30-30-30. Some of my, your audience might have heard me other shows. I really believe, that this last 30 up to 90 years is the golden time to make significance, to leave legacy and so forth. So I'm really and it's good to be a man who is excited every morning at this age and not watch TV and do other stuff and get into trouble.
Well, you got me excited. I'm gonna go write some LOIs and get some properties under contract now. Thanks for sharing all your wisdom and experience on syndicating, especially the marketing part and kind of working with investors and raising money. And best of luck on raising that $50 million for your blind pool. I think that's going to be a fantastic experience for you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you so much for what value you bring to your audience, and what a tremendous. I saw your website and you're doing great, and good luck and very best wishes to you on your podcast show and your acquisitions and everything. And look forward to seeing you sometime.
This episode was sponsored by Green Property Management, managing everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area. Find out more at greenpropertymgt.com.
You've been listening to the Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast, brought to you by the Rental Property Owner Association. You can find out more at rpoaonline.org. If you enjoyed this podcast, please go to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and review.